Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris, and this is We Love Comics. Hopefully, you are enjoying your weekend. It's been hot here. If you live anywhere in Florida, you probably know that right now with the heat index, it's anywhere between 102 and 104. So it's been a little interesting with that. So thought I would be indoors, maybe go to the pool later, but as of now, nice air-conditioned room, ready to do a video with you. And I have a Silver Age unboxing. This was a comic I believe I only had one or two copies, but sold both of them in my auctions. So I wasn't expecting to get this back anytime soon. And I ended up getting a pretty decent deal on this book. And well, we're going to do an unboxing. Before I do, while I'm waiting for people to come in, quick announcement. Stay tuned on Sunday tomorrow because I'm going to be doing a special announcement video. So if you're interested in what that will be, you can check that video out tomorrow. Should be sometime mid-afternoon, so stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed, you can hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, or just, take your chance and see if I do the video, but it will be sometime tomorrow mid-afternoon. Let's give a shout out to my PayPal members. I'm sorry, my Patreon members. If you want to get your name up here and support the channel, where I always tell people your contributions, about 95% of it goes towards helping all the stray animals that I take care of on a daily basis. Whether it's storming out, whether it's 104 out, helps with the medical bills, any kind of medicines, food, all that other stuff. You can go to patreon.com/we love comics. Any amount is grateful and definitely appreciated. But let's give a shout out to everybody that's on my paid Patreon account. So we got Sith Lord Michael, Kevin, Dan, Herbert, Annabelle, Jason, Kim. We got Blessed, which is our last and most recent joinee of the We Love Comics Patreon. Check out on YouTube, Kendall Kid Comics. Check out on Instagram at ScottWU077. Check out on Facebook, Stephen L. Turk Author. And last but not least on Instagram at Silver Age Surfer _comics. So like the last four that you heard, if you want, instead of just your name shouted out, if you have a YouTube channel or a social network, or even if you have your own business website, you'd like me to put that instead of just your name, just let me know at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com, and I have no problem with doing that. You can pause the video for this. If I get up to 20 paid members within any given month, we'll do a raffle for a giveaway. You can see the different tiers on that. For every $2 you contribute, you'll get one entry. So the more you contribute, the more chances when we get to 20. We'll see if it happens. Hopefully it will. But we only need 7 more people to get to that point. So let's say hello to Billy B, Gary Hahn, and Punisher XS, and Poppy A. Couple of unfamiliar names, a couple that I do recall. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your weekend. Let's put on the video camera. Before I do, if you want to critique the AI art, I thought I'd do something different today. One of the things I always tell people, 99% of the time, my thumbnails have nothing to do with the comic that you're about to see because I don't like to give it away. But every now and then, the image will be exactly what the comic is about. I'm not saying this is the time because there's probably not the first appearance of Owlman, which if you know the first appearance of the owl in Marvel, put it in the comment section, whether it's live or later on. But that's not what this is. Or is it? I guess we'll find out. Let's put on the video camera. Nitro is here as well. So here is the box. As usual, I always tell people when you buy, especially on eBay, but anywhere for that matter, never assume that a seller knows or cares about how to properly send a book. I always message a seller and say, can you put it in a box? Can you at least put some, cardboard to protect it? It doesn't always work, but hey, at least this time they did put one piece of cardboard. You never know. Without me asking, they might not have even done that. So it doesn't always work, but chances of getting that manila envelope of death. I mean, if you've been purchasing comic books long enough, you've probably gotten a comic book mailed in an envelope. So share your horror stories in the um, comment section. I think it's a rite of passage. Now this one, it is complete, is intact. There is a advertisement page where half of the page is missing. It's not cut out or anything like that, but half of the page of just the ad is missing, not like a coupon or anything. But other than that, it's complete and it looks pretty good. It's a lower grade, but guys, say it with me: low grade is better than no grade. And when you're talking key first appearances, even in low grade, I mean, especially if you get good deals, you can easily turn a lower grade book, turn it around faster than if you had like a 9.8 of that book. Because even though it's going to be worth a heck of a lot more money, it's probably going to take you a heck of a lot more time to be able to sell it because you'll have few people with that kind of money to be able to buy them. So that's why I love lower grade books because the turnarounds are just faster, which means your money isn't in limbo doing nothing for you. So if you're holding on to a book 10, 20 years, that's 10, 20 years of not only your money not doing anything, but your money losing its purchasing power over that time period. So there's a double-edged whammy sword. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. Double-edged whammy sword. Um, and it's something you don't want to do if you're trying to make money selling comics. Now, obviously, people buy books just to read them, some just to collect them for the covers. There is no wrong way. So here's the book. And then, as always, I always tell people, especially if you're live, but you could do it later on, everybody open up your eBay account and look under the sold copies. This book looks to be roughly around the 3.0 to a 3.5, in my opinion. Obviously, I'd have to look through the whole book, but colors look pretty good. But there's definitely some color breaking creases and things like that. But I always say in the live chat, if you could write down what you would have paid for this, because this was an auction. So what would be the highest you would have paid if you saw there was 30 seconds left on this auction? What would be the highest you would have bid and felt happy if you won? Now, of course, you'll have to add the eBay taxes and the shipping costs. But let's first reveal the book and we'll see what you guys would put. So I got myself, again, this is Amazing Spider-Man number 13. First appearance of Mysterio. Now, like I said, you could see some color break creases here. That might have been tape pulls, who knows? But that's the worst part of the book. But like I said, there is an advertisement page where I don't know, maybe it just got ripped off or something because it isn't a coupon or anything. So it doesn't affect the story, but I knew that when I bought it. So it's about between a 3.0 and a 3.5. What would you, for the maximum amount, if you saw this as an auction about to end and you had the chance to buy it, put the price in the live chat if you're watching this live or later on in the comment section. What would be the highest you would have bid and been happy if you won? Now, I always tell people you want to look up books. You don't want to just say, well, I'd be willing to spend $900 for this book. Because, first of all, if the book is worth 2,000, for example, and you're only willing to go to 900, you're never going to win. If you say, oh, I'd only pay $75 for this book, well, you're absolutely not going to win it because you couldn't even get a zero point 0.5 of this book for that price. So I always tell people, make sure you look up previous sales so you can get used to knowing about a price range of what you would be comfortable with paying based on what other people are buying it for and not just taking a guess. So we have Goon Collector would pay $10 for this book. Well, you may bid $10, Goon, but you absolutely would not win. So, Goon, good luck trying to get just the cover. You couldn't even get half of this cover for $10. But, that's great if you want to bid 10. Punisher XS says he would pay 360 euros, which would probably be roughly around $400. Sequential Geek would pay $5. Okay. So apparently people don't want to own the first appearance of Mysterio because $5 and $10, although funny in the comment section, so good job with that. Not going to win you the book. You wouldn't even be able to get a single page of this book for $10. But Punisher XS says 360 euro, which is about 400. Now again, it is complete. It is missing about half of a ad page, so it doesn't affect the story or anything. So the story's complete. It's not a coupon cut or anything. I don't know how the other half got missed, but Savage Institute says, I would pay whatever you suggest. I don't know anything. All the best. Well, then, Savage, what I would recommend is the more you learn about comics, the better chances of getting deals and making deals. Because if you look at what the average price is for a book that's sold, I tend to pay between 25 and sometimes I've paid, like, for example, I bought a Black Panther 52, a Fantastic Four 52, first Black Panther, a year ago. I won it, buy it now for $69. Got it graded, came back a 3.5, sold it, I think, between 4 and 500. So you're talking 300% profit, 350% profit. If I cannot turn around and sell a book the day I get it, most of the time I won't buy it. So deals are out there, but if you're not willing to do the research, take your chances. If somebody says they'd pay $800 for this book, you overspent. If you say you're only spending $100, you're not going to win it. So I always recommend people put the time and effort. You get what you give. If you give no effort and put in no effort, you're not going to win. So, I mean, I'm trying to teach people the more you learn, the more effort you put in, the greater chances of the reward. So Happy A says, I would pay no more than $500 for this book. That's about the going price of what people would pay for this book. Now, of course, like I said, this is ungraded, so you don't want to compare it to what you would see as a, for example, a 3.0 graded, but at least again, you can get a general idea. So the two that made the realistic bids was saying roughly between $400 and $500, which for a 3.0 is not a bad price. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you guys know I'll always find deals. Now, 4 and 500 would be about the going rate for that comic. I personally, if I saw this book was worth, let's say 450, let's go in between. If I saw this book was 450, I would not buy it for 400. I would not buy it for 350. I may buy it for 300. But with shipping and handling, Goon Collector says, so if this like the trading card market where you look up the pricing, is there a website you use like eBay? Yeah, Goon, I always use eBay. The reason I use eBay is I don't go by what's listed because people can list any price for something. I always go on eBay and look at the prices of the book that were sold, and I'll try and get a price range in the grade that I believe it is. Now, anybody that watches my channel knows that I send in 4 books to PGX once a month, every month now for about 8 years. I am usually within one grade 95% of the time of my estimates of what I think a grade is. So I've been doing this for long enough where I have a pretty good eye on what I believe a grade can be. Now, obviously, without opening it, there could be something else that wasn't there that the seller didn't show or didn't indicate. So you always have to check a book. Like, for example, I tell a story all the time about a time I bought Hulk 180 and the seller showed the Marvel value stamp in one of the images. I guess assuming that no one would check. I always check, and I always recommend my viewers check books. And it ended up when I opened that Hulk 180, the Marvel stamp was actually missing and was cut out. So the seller purposely put a picture of a stamp that wasn't there. I guess in hopes that somebody would say, well, it's in the picture, so it must be in there. Never assume. So I go based on eBay because it's showing what people are willing to pay for a book. So, I mean, you can go all other places. There's no wrong place if you can get a list of what people are willing to pay for a book. That's usually the best way to go. I like eBay. Sequential Geek says AM 13 CGC 1.0 just sold for $3.99 on eBay. So there you go. Sequential Geek, very good job on that. He looked it up. And this is why I say don't assume, because if you assume, you'll overspend or you will never win because you'll assume, well, I'm only willing to pay $100 for a book. And you see right there a CGC 1.0 sold for $400. Now remember, that 399 that you show is sold for does not include the taxes that eBay charges and shipping and handling. So taxes on 399 would be roughly about 25 to $30. Shipping could either be free shipping up to, $20, So let's just say free shipping. So you'd probably be spending about 425 for that book, which again is right around, considering this is about a 3.0. So what did I pay for it? Including shipping and handling and eBay taxes, I paid $250.39. So that includes everything. So Sequential Key did the right thing, looked it up, and he also says right now there's a buy it now for $679 for a CBCS graded 3.0. So the people that said 4 to 500, I don't know if you guessed or you actually looked, but you would have been buying it around what an ungraded copy would be worth, give or take. I never pay full price unless it's like a rare book. Like if there's an Amazing Fantasy 15, which I would love to own, I've never owned, and let's say whatever grade is worth 10,000, and knock on wood, I had the ability to buy it. I won the lottery that week. If I saw it at market value, that's the kind of book I might say, you know what? The chances of a deal on a book like that are going to be really slim. So I might just buy that book if it was within the what the price range would be going for. Now, of course, I'd be trying to go towards the lower end. But if it's, for example, if a book, let's say a zero point 0.5 Amazing Fantasy 15, let's assume it's selling for 10 grand. If it's selling for 11,000, I'm not going to buy it. Because remember, you're talking 11,000 plus taxes plus whatever shipping. So if it's worth 10,000, I'm going to pay 10,000, maybe 10,250, but I'd like to try and get it under. So Sequential Geek says, oh, okay, he's talking with somebody else. All right, so I paid $250 and what did I say? 39 cents for this book. That includes shipping and handling, and that includes the eBay taxes. So it shows, if you watch my videos about my unboxings, you'll see time and time again that I can get deals. And the reason I get most deals on the unboxings you see is because, like I said, if it's worth just whatever the price of the value of that book is at the time and it's selling for that price, I'm going to pass it up because I don't want to buy a book where I have to hold on to it for years in hopes that the price will go up. Because, like I said, if you have to wait 5, 10, 15, 20 years for a book to gain value, that money you spent is in limbo doing nothing for you. And the currency in that time period decreases, losing its value. So even if you bought a book at 500 and the book went down for 5 years, let's say it went from 500 down to 300, because that can happen. And for 10 years, it stays at $300. And then all of a sudden in the 10th year, it goes back to 500. And you say, all right, in 10 years, it lost money, but I can break even. So I'm going to sell it at 500, which is exactly what I paid for it 10 years ago. I'll break even. Well, no, you didn't, because the purchasing power of your money from 10 years in that transition period has lost probably 20, 25, maybe 30% of its value. So $500 now would buy you a lot less than what $500 would have bought you 10 years ago. So most people don't talk about those things. And this is something more people should be talking about if you want the people to view your channel to appreciate you looking out for them. And I don't think I've seen any other channel, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you know other channels that have talked about this before in videos, please give them a shout out because those people should be shouted out, even if it's somebody I don't agree with or don't like personally. I believe anybody giving out good information should, be acknowledged for it. But I have never seen any comic book channel tell you about the fact that if you're holding on to your in any investment, how you are actually losing money over time based on the devaluation of a currency. So if you see right here, most people would be willing to spend about $400 or $500 for this book. And you saw, thanks to Sequential Geek, that a 1.0 sold for 400. And like I said, this is about a 3.0 to a 3.5 in my opinion, but let's assume it's a 2.0. That's still a grade higher than a book that sold for 400 with a 1.0. I paid 250. So I paid less for this book than a 1.0, almost half. So deals are out there, but if you're not willing to put in the effort, if you're not willing to put in the time, you're never going to really get those good deals. You might get an okay deal, you might pay the going rate, but can you buy a book for 50%, 60%, 200% less than its value? That's the key. Because right now, I could say, I'm going to sell this book right now. Somebody would offer me, let's say, 400 for this book. I'd make $150 doing absolutely nothing. Not having to wait 5 years, not having to wait 5 months. And then I can turn around and use that money and buy something better. And that's how you upgrade. That's how you go from a beginner's collection to an okay collection to a modest collection to a good collection to a great collection to a outstanding collection. I've been trying to teach that for years, where you don't need millions of dollars to get into investments. You just need the smarts to know something's worth 500. If I can get it for 250, I can turn around and sell it, use that extra 250, which means now your $250 grew to 500. Now you have $500 to buy another book. And let's say you buy a $1,000 book for 500 and you turn around and sell that book. And let's say you sell that $1,000 book for 2,500. And then you take that other book, buy a book for 5,000. In the end, that $5,000 book cost you $250, not 5,000. So anybody with $5,000 in their pocketbook or in their bank account can buy a $5,000 comic. But can you buy a $5,000 comic for $250? Because you go from one comic making a profit, selling it, finding buying another better comic with the profits, finding another deal, selling that, and building up. So even though you have $5,000 to buy that book, you didn't spend 5,000 of your own money. You spent the initial 250 and built it up over time. That takes effort, that takes time, patience, confidence, and the willingness to, learn from your mistakes. If you're not willing to do that, then you know what? You'll get a deal every now and then. It's like playing Russian roulette. You pull the trigger enough times, eventually you hit the bullet. So, I mean, if that's the way you want to invest in anything, hey, I hope it works out for you. But if you go to a casino and you play blackjack and you have no idea what you're doing, you're going to win every now and then, but you're going to lose more than you'll ever win. And the house is hoping that most people that sit at that blackjack table don't care enough to want to play the right way for whatever reason, because it's just too hard to learn, or they just don't want to make the effort, or they think they're going to just be lucky by just doing whatever they want. And then you have $10,000 you went to the casino with, and you walk out with 50 cents in your pocket. If that's what you want to do, hey, as long as you have a good time, I guess that's okay, but I'd rather have a good time by winning, not have a good time and then lose everything because you got a couple of free drinks. But to each their own. So I would love to hear what you think of the fact that I spent in total, and again, that includes shipping and handling and eBay taxes, of $250.39 for Amazing Spider-Man number 13, first appearance of Mysterio. I think I got a really good deal with that, and I'll get that graded, turn around and sell it, and then get a better comic. Make somebody else happy because I always make sure, let's say a book is worth 500, I'll sell it for 425. So this way I could still make profit, but a person buying it still has room for maneuverability themselves. I'm not the type of person where if a book's worth 500 that I sell it for 500 because then the buyer has no room to move anywhere. That's why when I do my auctions, I have maybe 6 or 7 people that buy from me all the time, but they buy from me all the time. Multiple books from different countries. Because when you build up a reputation of doing things the right way and not just being a person that needs every single dime they can get and is willing to work with a buyer, they don't forget that and they appreciate what you're willing to do. That's why I like my auctions. And I'm going to be doing an auction in another 2 weeks or so. So stay tuned for that. But that's why I do payment plans. That's why I tell people look on eBay while I'm doing the auction so you could see, I don't want anybody to spend $10,000 on a $1,000 book. I make sure I do, you know, if you need extra time to make a payment, as long as you let me know, no problem. I work with people. When I say I'm going to mail a book out, not only do I mail it out within 24 business hours, I bomb-proof the books. Anybody that's had an auction experience with me, you could put it in the comment section and they'll agree. And if I say I'm going to mail a book out the next day and I can't do it, I don't just disappear. I don't just not message you. I don't mail it just whenever I feel like it. I let you know because that's courtesy. So the more efforts you put in, the better chances of a reward coming your own way. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, check out my video I'm going to do tomorrow. I have a special announcement that I'm going to be putting out there. It may benefit a few people, but I guess you'll have to watch the video to find out. And let's do today's surprise subscriber shout out. Sequential Geek, since you put in the effort to look up the book, and who is the other person that did it that said they would pay? Okay. So Sequential Geek, Hoppy A, and Punisher XS. Since you guys took the time to put prices and look things up, you guys are today's surprise subscriber shout out. Captain Crunch said Chris is the fairest and most transparent seller around. Thank you. I appreciate that, and that means a lot to me because, I take pride in that. And I want to make sure that when people purchase from me, they know they're going to get what they ordered. They're going to get it quickly. They're going to get it safely. I'm going to have communication with them. I'm going to be flexible with payment plans. No one else does that. And I want people to know that if you purchase from me, I've had people send me cash, and I'm not talking 20, $30. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars from other countries to buy books with payment plans, which means they don't get the comic until they pay in full. And as soon as that last payment is made, within 24 business hours, their comic is packed up and mailed out with a tracking number provided to them via their email the very next day. So I take a lot of pride in that. And that's why with all my auctions, I only sell graded books. So this way there's no speculating, there's no, saying I think it's a 4.0 and it ends up a 1.0, for example, because I didn't look at every single page and there was something I might have missed. Graded books, it just makes it easier. So put in the effort, you'll most likely get the effort and you'll get the reward. It's not always guaranteed, but if you're new to my channel, watch my unboxing videos. You'll see time and time again that I can find deals where I could literally turn around and sell a comic that I just purchased and double or triple my money within that very day I received it. So I don't have to wait 5 years. I don't have to wait 10 years. I don't have to watch the value of my currency going down over that time, losing money as I go, and having that money in limbo doing nothing for you. That is not smart investment advice. So I know there's many channels out there that are friendly and likable and popular. Just because they're all those things doesn't mean that they're right. And my channel is not very popular, is not very much viewed, is not taken seriously. And yet, if you look over the years, my advice has been very consistent and very accurate. And I'm trying to protect people and help them think in ways that most people don't tell you. I've had my own businesses since I was in my around 25 years old. Well, no, I was, when did I start my karaoke business? Since 2000, let's see, about since around 2000 to 2001. I had my own massage business because I was a licensed massage therapist. And then from 2002, I had my own karaoke DJ business. So basically since 2001, I had my own businesses. And you have to know things between net and gross profit. You have to know about how you can get the most out of what little amount that you can to advertise and let people know and word of mouth. You know, if somebody has millions of dollars in their bank account, very easy to open a business, very easy to start a collection. But what do you think's better? Having $1 million to buy $1 million book, or having $500 and taking 5 years of turning around and selling those books to eventually get to the point where you buy $1 million book from that original $500 purchase. So you would literally buy a $1 million book for $500. Now, that's a difficult one to do, but I'm just saying, even if you go to a $5,000 book, because I've shown over the years, it will take a couple of years, but why spend your own money when you can do things like using PayPal credit, for example, if you do it responsibly and if you pay it back without having to pay interest? Because I've been a PayPal member since day one. I remember back in the early 2000s, I forget when it first opened, but I remember getting an email one day saying, "We'll pay you $5 to join this new company called PayPal." You joined and they sent you $5. So if you're one of the original people that can back that up, that I'm not just making that up, put it in the comments section. And since they opened PayPal credit, I have not paid one dime in interest because I make sure I always pay them off. And there's lots of times where they'll have specials where they'll give you, instead of the regular 6 months, they'll give you a year. I had one where they had a special one time where you had up to 2 years to pay for it. So you could buy, for example, if you have good credit, or at least decent credit, a $5,000 book with none of your own money, just on PayPal credit. And if you can find a $5,000 book for, let's say, 2,000, and you turn around and sell it, you can pay off your PayPal account, have money left over from the profits, use that to start buying more books. So you technically don't use your own money, but you have to make sure you make the payments on time. But that's why it's a lot easier when you have the payment plans. No interest. Anybody using a regular credit card to buy comic books, there are so many people that talk about how they buy comics, but they don't tell you how they buy them. And a lot of times they won't tell you the price of what they really paid. But remember, if somebody buys, let's say, a $5,000 book and puts it on their credit card, if they don't pay it within the first 30 days, because a lot of credit cards, you have only 30 days where you don't get interest. Now, all of a sudden, you're adding interest to that price. So depending on your interest rate and how long it takes you to pay it off, you could add another two, three, $400 onto the total price. How many people do you know in the comic book community will tell you that they bought it on a credit card and they were paying interest? So it doesn't matter what they initially paid for that comic or whatever collection they have. If 6 months down the line they finally pay off the credit card and they spent an extra $250 in interest on a $5,000 book, well, you didn't buy it for 5,000. You've now bought it for 5,250. Again, the difference between net and gross. And if people don't include those things, then they're not being honest with you. Remember, withholding information is the same as lying. Now, I'm not saying most people are doing that deliberately or intentionally to deceive you. Some just don't have that business mindset, so they may not even think about those things. But you need to if you want to be successful. And that's what my channel is all about. So if it's a popularity contest, I'm never going to win it. If it's about special effects and saying all the wonderful things you want to hear, I'm probably going to be the wrong channel. But if you're a person that wants to listen to honest advice that can be helpful and beneficial and tells you all of the information instead of just little pieces, this is the right channel to go to. If you disagree, by all means, you can put a comment, explain why, let people know why you disagree with that. Until then, I want to thank everybody for coming to view my video. Stay tuned tomorrow for that special announcement I'm going to do tomorrow. It'll probably be again like mid-afternoon. If you want to critique the AI art, by all means, please do. You can hit thumbs up or thumbs down. It depends on you. And when the video uploads, if you would be kind enough to leave a comment and tell me what you thought about the price or my advice, whether you think it's good, bad, or indifferent, I'd love to hear your opinion. I respond to everybody's comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. Give our shout outs a shout out. And don't forget, it's not you. It is not I. It is We Love Comics. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Wheel of Comics. And don't forget, everybody, to have your trolls spayed or neutered. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you next video. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon.